And now, you're going to go to work. So take out pencil and paper, because you're going to do some questions and then you're going to examine. You're going to chat with others. Archetypal patterns are, and I said this earlier, you already have a sense of a number of your archetypal patterns. You've lived too long to not know yourself. You've lived too long to not know patterns in you that have been consistent, that have been present, that have gotten you in trouble or directed you. You've simply lived too long. And if you don't know at least some parts of yourself, then what have you been doing? What have you been doing? So don't approach me as if you don't know yourself. Approach me as if you do. You're just too old. That's number one. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to present you with questions that I want you to answer. And this is itself its own point of reflection. And that's that in this world, when you are in your when you're in the first column or the lower floors, you perceive everything through your ego, which means you want everything to come out making you feel good or right. Good or right. So if the answer to the questions make you feel good or right, you haven't done it right. So I want you to picture me saying to you, even if after we part and we do not see each other again, there will come a time when you will ask yourself a very profound question. Why am I ill? Why did this happen? And if the answer you give yourself ends up being one that that positions you in the better place, you have not answered it correctly. Are you agree? You got it? So this is about the first answer you give is the answer that you want. And when you are looking for archetypes, oftentimes someone will say to me when I teach sacred contracts, I want to be a queen. And I want this one. It's like going to the cupcake shop. And I want this one, I want this one, I want this one, which is why the questions I'm going to give you are so significant. This is the answer you want. This is the answer you reflect on that begins to stir you inside, and this is the truth. This is where you go for the core of the mythology. You answer the truth, and then you look for the source of why things are so. Now, truth is often beautifully revealing. Beautifully revealing. It's not harsh. It's not harsh. It's not painful. If you said, why do I feel drawn to helping homeless people? Or I wish I didn't, but I do. So what is it about me? Why? Why is that? And you look deeply into yourself and you realize, I have the sacred servant archetype. This is my path of service. I am called to do this, and that's all there's to it. And you recognize that path of service in yourself. And when you actually see this, you begin to actually understand the truth of what it means to surrender. And you say, this is in me. I surrender to that, which means the following. If I have a contract with that, and that's what you've called me to do, my job is to follow the guidance you give me, and you take care of coincidences, synchronicities, and arranging what needs to be arranged. And I'll take care of all the other stuff that needs to happen. I'll take care of believing, you take care of that. You arrange the laws to work. I engage the faith, you engage the laws. Are you with me? This is how healing, these are the laws of healing. These are the laws of healing. Some people, a disease can be healed instantly. Yes, it can. Okay, so this is the answers that you give. You decide the depth to which you want to know yourself. Sometimes you don't want the depth because the truth reveals to you how profoundly loving you can be. Your own potential. And you may not want that potential because it would redirect what you are called to do in life. You may not want that. You may not want to feel compassion at that level. So you keep up a wall of judgment. One of the reasons why there's mostly women in this room and not men. It's not because men are stupid. Okay? Rather, we still have a world in which we expect men to be the warrior archetype, to go out and make money for us. We love the warrior, we love the hero. In order to be that, in order to still live by the creed and the code, well, business is business. And to have that, they simultaneously cannot have that kind of compassionate heart that says, well, you know, business is business, but I don't know. We still haven't figured out how the two coexist. We're evolving to that. We're evolving to that. But we haven't figured it out yet. We still have a model that says you can't be profitable and spiritual simultaneously. We're evolving to that, but we still have profound issues. And so we still prefer our men to be tough, protectors, knights, heroes, and warriors. Which is why we'll always have war. We will always have war. Because we will always have women that want to send the warrior off. We will always have women that love the warrior. And we will always have men who want to feel brotherly love toward other men, and the only place they feel safe doing that is in the military. And that goes all the way back to ancient Greece and Rome. Therefore, we will always have war. That is archetypal. Never leave your brother behind. Brother, the brotherhood, the military, the police. The only place where they feel safe hugging each other without being homosexual. Got it? Got to understand who we are. So when I ask you these questions, go deep in yourself. If you answer right away, you're not going deep enough. Got it? Okay, now. Beg your pardon. The first question I want to ask is, what do you absolutely love to do? Now, put it down. You're going to answer this later. What do you love to do? That's the first question. And what I mean by that is, it's something you need to do, love to do. The second is, what causes you to, the second is, define power for yourself. What are power symbols? What are your power symbols, and define power? Now, I'll give you an example. So, for some people, Mercedes-Benz cars are power symbols. That represents like power in the hood. Okay? Living in certain areas of the neighborhood. I remember a woman saying to me once, I live in a suburb of Chicago, and another suburb is called Hinsdale. And she said, we Hinsdalians. And I looked at her like she had a duck on her head. And I thought, what the heck is a Hinsdalian? So I said to her, what is that? And why would you want to be one? I mean, what is that? Why would you want to identify with a suburb? And then I realized that the absurdity on my face was only matched by the absurdity on her face, because you couldn't get why I didn't get it. So anyway, what are your power symbols? Now, these are keys to archetypes. So don't just go, You've never thought about this, so I'm asking you to go deep here. You have 30 minimal fashion. Hello. Labels. Neighborhoods. Don't go like this. Don't go like this. You have never stopped to examine. If you judge someone else because they do, it's a power symbol for you in the shadow. So behave yourself here, people. If you think, look at that person, it has hit you. If it has a kick, it hit you. If it has a kick, if it has a spark, it has power. Okay? I want you to think of something like a plastic fork. That can't possibly be a power symbol for anybody. Am I right? Yeah. Am I right? Okay? That's what it is to not have something of a power symbol. But just because anything you judge someone else for is a shadow power symbol. So you put that down, Tootsie. Are you with me? Okay. It's only if it comes across your screen as a fork. All right. Because you will lose power over it. And you especially lose power over the negative power symbols. Because you judge someone, and the moment you judge, I'm going to show you what you look like. Just so you know, do you even know what you look like? Well, I'm going to show you so you can have this for the rest of your life. Because you need to know what you look like to the psychic eye. There's two images you have to have in your head for the rest of your life. One is this. The image of latitude and longitude. It might strike you as a pumpkin at first, but with a little of my genius. Remember how they taught you latitude and longitude? Okay, so this you have to think of as a hologram. Okay, a hologram? And here you are in the middle. There you are. This is a pretty good duplicate of how you actually are. And I want you to imagine that every intersection is an active crossroads for you. That every single one of those intersections is a live wire for you. Every single one of those intersections, you are actively connecting. These are connecting intersections. Okay, this is an active net. This is your active internet network. This is your internet. Okay, so think of this as your internet. And you are always communicating. You are always transmitting on your internet. This is it. You are never not. This is your psychic field. This is it. And always there is data being transmitted. You have archetypal patterns on this at all times that are transmitting. You are transmitting to the collective, and the collective is transmitting to you. Depending on what you receive data that matches the magnetics of what's on here for you. You may be attracted to something. For example, you may find somebody in a room and say, ooh la la. That man is just like, wow. But you don't have a corresponding archetype that matches any archetype he has. It doesn't mean you can't be attracted to him. But there's no magnetic connection no matter what you do. The word that we use for that in the first column, can you remember the first column? The actual language we use is we say there's no chemistry. That's how we have learned to express that. We say there's just no chemistry. There's so many times when people will go into therapy to find out if they could awaken their chemistry. What a bunch of garbage. If you don't have the archetypal patterns, there will never, ever, ever be chemistry. You cannot fake an archetypal pattern. It's just not possible. It's not possible, and it will never be possible. If it's not there, it is not there. And that's all there's to it. And if it is there, and that magnetic attraction is there, and you say to someone, you stay away from that guy, it is so not going to happen. It is like so not going to happen. This is your, now, what I want, here's another illustration. No, I'm going to put it here. When I've done readings, and probably still do and always will, I want you to think of, this is the CMED image icon now. And it became that because it's actually the most accurate illustration of life force coming into you. And in the ideal world, this life force would be in your hologram. And you would make choices, and you would live fully able to contain yourself. Because you would recognize, I'm responding personally to something that's totally impersonal. And I am now, watch, see your little mouth? I am now losing my power because I have anchored myself in what Buddha calls an illusion. I've just lost my power to something. And I'll give an example of it. I come up to someone and I say, you know what Mary said about you?
No, what?
Mary said she'd never wear those socks, ever. I've just... Now, what... May I have your name?
Rosemary.
What Rosemary has a choice. Rosemary could say, that is so typical of the gossip archetype. Now the gossip archetype has to just gossip. It cannot not gossip. It's gossiping around. It just has to gossip. And typical of the gossip archetype, it never says anything nice. And number two, it always BS's. It can never say anything with integrity. It can never say anything honestly. How many of you are gossips? Oh, 3. See what I mean? They're never honest. Okay. I just love doing what I do. Okay. Gossips are never honest. And they just have to do that because that's how they know they're alive. And then they always deny what they say. And then they always say, I didn't mean it. Because they never mean to be what they are, which is troublemakers. Troublemaker gossips. Now, if you saw clearly, if you really did, you would be able to say, this is the gossip being the gossip. It has nothing to do with me. And I am not losing my power. See the hemorrhage? I am not going to anchor in this because in 1 second, when I walk away from Rosemary, I'm going to forget what I said to her. It doesn't mean a thing because that's typical of the gossip too. I'm going to go on and say something else to Carolyn. I'm going to tell Carolyn another story because I'm compulsive, because I'm the gossip. I can't stop gossiping because that's what I do. But Rosemary has a choice. She could just dismiss it and say, and learn and say, that is someone I would never confide in. That's what I know about the gossip. The last thing I would ever do is confide in someone who's a gossip. They simply have a mouth that goes like this. And so only a fool confides in someone who has the gossip archetype. You do not say to the gossip, promise me you'll keep this confidential. Sure. Just what'd you say? Okay. Because you know they are incapable of it. And that's the nature of the gossip. And if you tell a gossip a secret, you know within 3 minutes, close the door on your way out. They have already betrayed you before your tea is cold. They are classic betrayers. They will betray. Yeah. Gossip columnists in the newspapers. Okay? They are, everybody who writes for People magazine is a gossip columnist. Okay, I mean, they can put it to work. They can put it to work and make it, but they have to be upfront about it. They have to be upfront about, that's what I'm doing. I'm soliciting information. That's why I'm doing this. I'm soliciting. But like all things, you have to be, the shadow side is, you got to get in touch with your shadow side, which is the shadow side of the gossip. Is pretty nasty. Okay, now, my example here, my point of this, is that everyone chooses whether they will lose power, and the choice is whether to see something personal or impersonal. Okay, so, I'm asking you for your power symbols. So I want you to name at least 7 power symbols. So it could be money, it could be sexual seduction. It could be status. It could be having more personal stories than someone else. You would be surprised what your power symbols are. Could be being more wounded than someone. Could be having a more dramatic history. You would be surprised the source of your power. Yes?
You want me to wait for mine?
I want the question to be related to what I'm talking about.
It's related to what you were talking about, that you could judge something.
I really want to get through this, so I am going to ask everybody, please, let me get through this. The next question, unless your questions are directly related. What?
So the question is, who do I envy, and what are their characteristics that would tell me? That would answer that question?
Yes, who do you envy? And what are their characteristics? That would be perfect. Who do you envy is a way of losing your power, and why do you envy them? What is it specifically that you envy? Absolutely, that's perfect. Because once again, just so you know, the shadow of envy is in the heart. The grace of the heart is fortitude. The shadow power is wrath or anger, envy. It's amazing. Well done. Okay, the next is what do you crave? What are your cravings? Now this is a very rich question. This is a delicious question.
How is this different from what you love?
What do you love? What do you love is, what do I love? Love is like, I love my family, I love my friends. I love writing, it gives me life. What I crave causes me to lose life. Craving brings out my animal nature. An addiction is something I crave. Pornography is something people crave. Secrets, dark secrets, being part of a dark secret is something a lot of people crave. A second identity is something people crave. Okay? You'd be surprised what people crave. Like, for example, the dark hero. A lot of men crave being a hero, coming to the rescue in a heroic, so much so that they will set a fire so that they come to the rescue. And remember that guy in the Olympics that did something and then came to the rescue, and in fact he was the one that set up the crisis? One of my oldest friend in the world, my oldest friend, we met when we were 13 and we are still sisters. Her oldest brother was in the military. And he used to come home with these stories of how he was in the CIA. And he was like on secret missions. And, you know, we were like 13, 14 years old. And her mother, his mother, she was this wonderful, her youngest brother and my youngest brother were born in the same day in the same hospital. And her father died 3 days after her younger brother was born. So God bless her mother. She had to raise these 5 kids by herself. And she wanted to believe her son. You know, she wasn't able to not believe him. So when he would come home with these stories of being this hero, all of us were like this. And I still remember sitting on the floor in this apartment in Chicago, sitting, Eileen and I, in our pajamas. You know, when you stay the weekend with your friend, we were in our pajamas and we listened to these escapades. We were like, wow. And he would say, you can't tell anybody. We're like, we won't tell anybody. You know, naming countries we never heard of. We're like, wow, you know. And then he'd leave the room, we would grab an atlas and look up these countries. And I mean, really, right. Well, you know, none of it was true. None of it. And he eventually committed suicide. They found him dead in a hotel room. It was horrendous. Horrendous. But this is that archetype in the extreme. The need to be the hero. And somehow that archetype possessed him to the point that nothing else could get in. Nothing else could get in. Okay? Okay. So I'm asking you what you crave. What he craved was the power that came from the recognition specifically of being a hero. You know, he didn't crave the power of money. That wouldn't have done it. He didn't crave the power of a great big huge car. He craved the power of nobody is as strong and nobody's the hero he is. It's quite astonishing. This. So do you have any questions about that? Because that's really, yeah. Is there anything you could do to kind of get out of that sort of, to lessen the possession of it? You know, yes, and that's a journey too. But one of it is that someone has to puncture the spell. You're actually under a spell, and you have to. Someone has to puncture that spell, and you have to let someone in. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next, what are you naturally good at? What are you naturally good at? By the way, with cravings, you'd better put down at least 3, 4, or 5. 1 is not good enough. How many of you just put 1? Because that's not good enough. You have 3 to 5. Craving could be someone's attention, yeah. No, I'm saying you can go if they're serious, but I mean if you say something like chocolate, that's just BS. That's absolute BS. Don't be cute and coy. I'm talking about cravings. If you're looking for an archetypal pattern, you're looking for a craving that actually drives you. That actually drives you, that actually is in your soul, that's in your nature. Chocolate's not in your nature. It's something you want to eat. It's in your nature now. Overeating is in your nature. An eating disorder is in your nature, perhaps. See the difference? But don't give me chocolate. So something that you crave might be something like craving substances that alter your consciousness. You know, alcohol, drugs, magic mushrooms, whatever. I need to have my consciousness altered. Yeah. You crave an ability to overcome your fear of being seen. Yeah, you can absolutely, if that's something you crave where it drives you, if it drives you. I crave an ability. What you crave is a sense of self-esteem. No matter how you direct it, your craving is self-esteem. And then you can use it any way you want. Yes. Wait a minute, I need a mic here, people. I need something that helps me out here because I need this on record. Yeah. Is it warm in here? Yes. Could we get a door open and some air? That would be great. Go ahead.
Is the heroine archetype in women, does that manifest itself just like the male counterpart?
The Amazon woman.
Okay. Is it just physical strength?
No, but it isn't. The Amazon woman's not about just physical strength. It's about coming in and taking charge and being a figure of, formidable force and getting recognized for, whoa, that woman. There's, the Amazon woman, it was not just about watch me lift the rocks in the room.
How is it different from a queen?
From what?
Queen.
A queen? The queen queen is not about physical strength and warriorship. She never pulls a sword out. The queen is, and in fact, that's an archetype that is totally misunderstood by Western women and like Americans. The American women think the queen is about, I control this. And it's not at all. The queen is about benevolent leadership, benevolence. The queen is about inheriting a queendom that you are responsible for and the care of. A queen is, in the book, Archetypes, I write extensively about the queen, and specifically 3 queens, Elizabeth I, Victoria, and Elizabeth II, to show 3 aspects of the queen archetype and how it is one of dedication, one of elegance and leadership, and Elizabeth II, the last great queen we will ever see. She's it. She's the last queen on this earth. She's it. The last thoroughbred queen. There will never be another. Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the word craving, I just want to be able to make my inquiry in a productive way. You're not talking about, for example, a craving to heal. You're talking about craving with a compulsion.
Yes. I'm talking about a craving that causes you to lose power. It causes you to do things that are destructive to you.
I don't feel like I crave my list, but I'm controlled by my list.
The same thing. If something outside controls you, that's it. We're playing word games now. It's the same thing. Okay? You crave people. How many of you crave control? It is out of the, okay, there you go. How many of you crave winning? That's it. This is a craving. I've got to win. How many of you crave, like, for example, the fantasy, I have to have glamour. I have to be recognized. And that's that. And that is it. Or the last word. Okay. I mean, you'd be surprised, these subtle cravings. But here's the thing. These become, in order for you what drives you here are stories you tell yourself. And stories you tell yourself about the person you are engaged with. And those stories are rooted in your mythologies. Like, in order to get away with the way you think about, the way I think about Rosemary, the way I think about Carolyn, let's say I develop an attachment. Let's say my orphan child. I start working with Rosemary or Carolyn. My orphan child, I don't have an orphan, but if I did, I lock in and I tell myself, I start interpreting everything Carolyn does, everything, as she wants to adopt me. Now she's just being nice because she's nice. But I interpret it from a family, because I have such a need to be adopted, that now I'm in a place of work, but I start personalizing everything. She says, come join the The whole staff's going out to dinner. Why don't you come join us for dinner? This is a dinner business thing. But because I'm an orphan, I say, oh, it's family. And I start using the language. Boy, this feels like a family. I start familyizing it. Because I'm coming from the orphan. One day, Carolyn thinks, you know, there's something going on here that's just, I'm your boss, you're my employee, and you're looking for something from me that's not appropriate. So I tell you what, I'm gonna move you to a different department. I take it as I see it, I tell my story in my head that mommy once again abandoned me. Oh my God, I'm orphaned again. This Carolyn, all she did was get rid of a pathological pattern of smothering that an employee did. But I told myself a story based on an archetypal myth I have of the orphan child that once again kicked in. Are you following me? Okay, because I crave being adopted. I crave it. I need to be adopted by somebody. So every time I'm in a certain circumstance that begins to feel like family, the orphan says, whoop. There's someone that feels parental, and it takes over. And that's how this works. So if any of you out there are craving adoption, you put it down.
So is that the same as craving belongingness or community?
Is it the same thing as craving belongingness?
You want to be adopted.
As it depends on how it manifests in you. Craving community is, I think it's we are communal creatures. But depends on how it expresses itself in you. Are you craving community, or are you craving adoption by a family where it brings out the child in you? And if it brings out child patterns where it is very childlike and it brings that out in you, and you find that you become hypersensitive and just like a child and start doing child things, then it's your child and you're craving adoption. Okay, let's go. Where's my glasses? Here we go again. Okay, next. Oh, did you do what are you naturally good at? Okay, give me some examples of what you're doing. What? Nurturing, good. What else? Okay, good. Okay, all right, we're on it. What are deal breakers for you? And let me explain what I mean. Now, what I mean by deal breakers, I want at least 3. A deal breaker is something in your life where someone says, you can do this, but you'd have to give up this. And you would say, I'm sorry, I don't care what you offer me. Like, here, I'll give you an example in my own life. A deal breaker for me would be if someone said this, and I can tell you this, and I mean it unequivocally. I think you get I think you would believe me. If someone said, we would give you $5 million and the home of your choice, but you can never again pray. That would be a deal breaker for me. I would have to say, okay, because that's a deal breaker for me. Or if they said you can never again explore the divine, that's cut off. If there was a way to do that. Because that is so inherent to me. If they said to me, you can never again work out at the gym, I'd say, where do I sign? Okay, like that would be the effortless effort. Okay, you see the difference? I would be like, oh well, gee, okay, what can I do? What can I say for 5 million and never work out again? Okay. That would be the effortless effort. If they said you can never again sail, if they said to me, and I'm not kidding you, you can never again sit at the seashore. I don't care. I don't like that. It's no big deal. It means nothing to me. Nothing. I am so non-aquatic. So I know what my soul needs. They said you can never write again. No, I don't sign. I know what deal breakers are for me, that are deep. If deep in my soul, I know what my deal breakers are. I know what they are. Now, your deal breakers are indicative of your archetypal patterns. One of my deal breakers is you would have to give up inner reflection and holding yourself accountable. Now that's a deal breaker for me. To give up inner reflection and holding myself accountable. And that's not because of anybody else, but because of my own inner practice. That's about me and me and me and my own relationship to the world I know exists. Okay? That's about that part of me. That would be a deal breaker. If I never could work with people in health, again, that's a deal breaker. Because that's part of my calling. Okay, so what for you is a deal breaker? Mm-hmm.
Can you give us an example? Is there a negative deal breaker? Everything that you talked about was pretty positive. I mean, all your deal breakers were pretty positive. All your deal breakers were pretty positive. But there's something that's a deal breaker for you that is negative.
No, I'm talking about deal breakers where you know yourself and it's something that I know that I need this for my life. This is essential to who I am. This is my who I amness. What is essential to me is solitude. Solitude. I need that for my creativity, not because I need to get away. Because no baloney. I need solitude because that's what my creative life requires. Who writes in a subway station? I'm a writer and I need my solitude. It's essential. Someone said no more quiet time. That's a deal breaker. Okay, so the hermit archetype is deeply embedded in me. Deep part of me. I know a lot of people who can't bear to be alone. David. I mean, you know, when he's on the road, if he's alone, hello. I said, you must be alone you must be alone, right? Nobody home to call, wife gone, kids gone. Oh, hello. Can't take it. My brother can't take it. When he calls up, the TV's on, noise in the background, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Can't take silence. Can't take it. The moment he's in the house, he's got to put the TV on. He's not even watching it. He has to have background noise, has to have this. Cannot take it. Okay? That's it. So what is a deal breaker for you? Put down 3 of them. Okay? Okay, guys. Keep going. Okay, what do you feel you have yet to explore about yourself? A fun question. 3 areas you have yet to explore. You always wanted to. That you would feel incomplete. Now, one way to imagine this is that you're dying. You're on your deathbed. And you think, I wish I had. May not be the ideal way to do this, but it works. Only one more to go, but aren't these fun? Okay, now, and the last question, and I'll let you, then you can go and work on these. You feel your need to, what have you always struggled with? Now, to give you examples, I've always struggled with honesty. I've always struggled with meaning what I say and saying what I mean. I've always struggled with making a decision and sticking to it. I'm a procrastinator. I've always struggled with okay, go ahead and answer the questions. We have 5 minutes. No, I'm teasing you. No. You have, I'll give you a little, you need time for this. And then when you're done, you're going to partner with, 3 or 4 people. I would prefer that you are with people you do not know. I do not want you with people you know. I would like you with people you don't know, and that will give you a chance to be far more open. And then you're going to share your answers. And then at the end, you're going to identify archetypes in each other. It's fun. It's great fun. So go ahead. I do not want to see husbands and wives together. That is so not allowed. Okay, so go ahead. Go to work. Cherubs, what I would like you to do is go through the questions. The best way to do this is take one question at a time and let each person, and then take the next one and go, and then the next one. Do it in order of the questions. And that would allow every one of you to have a nice speaking time. And the object is not to comment on each other's answers, but to listen. And if a person wants help, let that person ask. Otherwise, don't jump in with commentary on because that just, okay, is that an agreed upon way? Yes. Right. No. Yeah. See, what I want you to do, this is what I want you to do. I want you to share, and then people can comment. But I want you to share your answers and then open your space for comment for your answers.
After we go.
No, listen to me. In the sharing, I want you to get through one question at a time. And if I was in your circle, for example, I would finish my answer and then share. I don't want my answer interrupted. And so once I'm done, then jump in and just offer any opinion you have. Yes?
When I give my answer, I just give my little list of 3 things or 4 things?
Yeah.
Or do I give a minimal explanation?
Yeah, just say however you want to answer it. But I think that if you give each person an opportunity to answer without interruption, you're going to find that it feels really good to do that. And one of the reasons it's so important to let a person fully express is because as you talk, something else is going to occur to you. And so a kind of a lovely channeling starts for each of you. And now, there's 2 ways to do this. One is that you're going to start seeing archetypes in each other. You're going to start recognizing that, this person has this archetype or this person has this archetype. You can wait till you're done to offer that to each other. Because at the end of this sharing, what I really would like you to do is go around and say, these are the archetypes I perceived in you. These are the archetypes I saw in you. These are the archetypes I saw in you. This is how I would like you to close down your time together. And then the next person says, this is what I saw in you. The next person, that you close with a sharing of what you saw in each other. That's how we'd like it done, is that's the last thing you do together, is that each of you share the archetypes you kind of saw or heard in each other. Can we agree that that's okay? You know, I'm going to interrupt for a second. Can I interrupt? Hello? Let me interrupt, which I'll do constantly as things occur to me. A woman just asked, I don't know all the archetypes. Well, given that there's thousands, okay. However, you do speak it fluently, and you've spoken it all your life, and you have labeled people, and you have stereotyped people, and you never stop. So if you use the word stereotype and label, and use the impressions you've got, you do it like this and that fast. And these are archetypal patterns. You've just never thought or understood them as archetypes. And you've never, ever, ever probably stopped and said, what is the mythical origin of this? Because you don't speak that or do that. But believe me, every one of you constantly categorizes every single human being you meet. OCD, jerk, loser, okay? Every one of those is an archetype. Everyone is an archetype. If you've ever been told you're judgmental, you are archetyping all over the place. You do it so you can put someone in their power container, so that you know the type of power you are dealing with or the type of power you want to deal with in them. That's why you do it. You lock in to one of their archetypes. When two people meet the same person, sometimes they lock into that two different archetypes in one person. And they end up in a conversation saying, I don't know why you like that person. And the one says to the other, oh, I think they're lovely. And the other person's locked into a different archetype. Are you crazy? This person is rah, 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 rah. But you have locked into a part of that person that you think is, you've locked into their eccentric. And the other one's locked into maybe their shapeshifter. And that person sees nothing, or their con artist. And that person sees nothing but this shadow side. And you see this person that you delight in. This person's so eccentric. And you love eccentrics. That would be me. And I adore eccentrics. I collect them. But someone else would lock into maybe another part of an eccentric's personality and say they are so unbelievably irresponsible, which many of them are. But what do I care? I'm not supporting them. So this is you just know that you get impressions this fast. And remember a teaching, first thought, best thought. First thought, best thought. That is absolutely true. That's an archetypal truth. Your first is your best. Your first impression is your best impression. It's when you start thinking something through and analyzing that you screw yourself up. The moment you start thinking something through, you put your fears into it, and that's when you fall. Your first thought, and when you say, now I don't know what to do, you've contaminated a good intuitive hit. Go back to your first thought. It's always the most accurate, even if it appears to you to be the most risky. It's the most accurate. Accuracy and risk do not speak to each other. Do not let them speak to each other, ever. Ever. Intuitive hits and risk never should be allowed in the same room. They don't operate by the same laws. Never let them speak to each other. Now go ahead.